This was a quote from a vice president of GlaxoSmithKline after he retired, and he said the vast majority of drugs, more than 90%, only work in 30 to 50% of people. Well, I think he's being generous with 30 to 50% of people, but I would agree with him. The vast majority of the drugs don't work.
Have you ever wondered if cholesterol-lowering drugs, like statins, are really as safe and effective as we're told? Millions of people worldwide take statins every day, believing they're protecting their heart and lowering their risk of heart disease. But what if there's more to the story? A hidden truth that most people don't know. Dr. David Brownstein, a board-certified family physician with over 30 years of experience, has been raising alarm bells about the widespread use of statins. He's the author of several best-selling books on natural medicine and has dedicated his career to uncovering the root causes of health issues rather than just treating symptoms. Did you know that more than 200 million people worldwide take statins, with the global market for these drugs valued at over $25 billion annually? Despite their popularity, studies reveal that for many people, the benefits may not outweigh the risks. In this video, we'll explore why Dr. Brownstein believes cholesterol is not the enemy and how statins could be doing more harm than good. Stick around to uncover the hidden truth about cholesterol drugs that Big Pharma doesn't want you to know.
One of the reasons is they cause adverse drug reactions. And an adverse drug reaction is any noxious, unintended, and undesired side effect of a drug used in humans in therapeutic doses. What that means is the drug was taken appropriately, given appropriately, yet something happened that couldn't be predicted.
Statins have become a cornerstone of modern medicine, but their widespread use comes with significant controversy. Statins are among the most prescribed drugs worldwide, primarily used to lower cholesterol levels and reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease. With 1 in 4 adults in the U.S. taking a statin, their use is incredibly widespread. New guidelines could expand their prescription to nearly half of adults aged 40 to 75. However, the use of statins is not without controversy. Critics like Dr. David Brownstein argue that the drugs have minimal benefits for many patients while exposing them to significant risks. Studies have shown that statins can cause adverse drug reactions, including muscle damage, cognitive decline, and an increased risk of diabetes. Despite claims of reducing heart attack risks, the absolute benefits are often negligible. Furthermore, many individuals with heart attacks have normal cholesterol levels, challenging the foundational premise of statin therapy. This growing debate highlights the need for a reevaluation of statin use in modern medicine.
And there was a study in 1994 where they looked at 6 major medical centers across the U.S. and the hospitalized patients in those centers during that year and what they died from. And what they reported was that there were 2.2 million adverse drug reactions of those. They extrapolated the numbers out nationally. They reported over 2.2 million adverse drug reactions resulted in over 106,000 deaths.
The history of drug-related deaths reveals a troubling pattern of harm associated with medications prescribed at therapeutic doses. A pivotal 1994 study, conducted across 6 major U.S. medical centers, highlighted the alarming impact of adverse drug reactions, or ADRs. The findings revealed that 2.2 million hospitalized patients experienced ADRs, which were responsible for over 106,000 deaths that year. Shockingly, these fatalities were not due to the patient's underlying illnesses, but were directly linked to the medications they were given. To put this into perspective, 106,000 deaths equate to the equivalent of a jumbo jet crashing daily for an entire year. This study occurred during a time when fewer medications were in use compared to today, underscoring the significant risks of drug therapies. Such data highlight the often overlooked dangers of prescribed treatments, particularly when they are deemed safe and necessary. Dr. David Brownstein's journey from conventional medicine to a holistic approach sheds light on the shortcomings of widely accepted drug therapies. In his book, Drugs That Don't Work and Natural Therapies That Do, Dr. Brownstein highlights the dangers of relying on pharmaceuticals that poison crucial enzymes or block vital receptors. He emphasizes that long-term use of such drugs often leads to poor outcomes. The book critiques several drug categories, with statins receiving particular attention due to their widespread use and questionable benefits.
It's a documented fact that as many adults experience a mortal heart attack with a total cholesterol count under 200 as over 300, half of patients who are admitted to hospitals for a heart attack have normal cholesterol levels.
High cholesterol has long been labeled a health risk, but growing evidence challenges its direct connection to heart disease. Research reveals that many individuals who suffer fatal heart attacks have normal cholesterol levels, undermining the narrative that lowering cholesterol universally prevents cardiovascular issues. In fact, for individuals over 50, higher cholesterol levels are often associated with lower overall mortality, including from all causes and cancer. Conversely, low cholesterol has been linked to increased risks such as cognitive decline, frailty, and higher death rates. Cholesterol is essential for critical bodily functions, including hormone production, vitamin D synthesis, and cellular integrity. Statins, which indiscriminately lower cholesterol, may disrupt these processes, potentially causing more harm than benefit. The perceived effectiveness of statins is often overstated through statistical manipulation, such as emphasizing relative risk reduction over absolute risk. This creates a misleading perception of their benefits, especially for those without prior cardiovascular events. The evolution of statin guidelines reveals a shift that has sparked debate about their validity and impact on patient care.
If we follow their new recommendations, it would increase the number of people on statins by at least 13 million in the US. And most of the increase was in people who don't have heart disease. So this would be for primary prevention, even though there's not one single study that gives an indication for statin drugs for primary prevention. This would, if we follow their recommendations, 1 in 2 people from the age of 40 to 75 would be on statin drugs.
Recent updates to statin guidelines reflect a significant shift, moving from a cholesterol-focused approach to one that prioritizes risk factors. While cholesterol levels remain a central metric, the new recommendations aim to identify individuals at risk of cardiovascular events based on broader parameters. Despite this shift, critics argue that these guidelines still heavily rely on cholesterol levels to justify prescriptions, perpetuating a flawed narrative about the role of cholesterol in heart disease. The impact of these changes is profound. Following the updated guidelines, the number of adults eligible for statin therapy could increase by 13 million, with the majority being individuals without existing heart disease. This would result in nearly half of adults aged 40 to 75 being prescribed statins. Proponents claim this expansion is preventive, but evidence for the use of statins in primary prevention remains weak. Many studies fail to demonstrate significant benefits for those without prior cardiovascular events, raising concerns about the efficacy and necessity of such widespread statin use. Critics argue that this approach benefits pharmaceutical companies more than patients, pushing medications despite the associated risks and minimal absolute benefits. These misleading guidelines highlight the need for a more critical and patient-centered evaluation of statin therapy. Understanding the difference between relative and absolute risk is crucial to uncovering the truth behind the purported benefits of statins.
I'll title this part of the lecture, How Do You Prevent Medical Errors? You better understand statistics, and if you don't understand that, you better understand damn statistics, because they're fooling all of us with this stuff. So you're probably thinking right now what this gentleman's thinking. I haven't had statistics since dental school. What am I going to do? I don't remember this stuff. And, golly, how am I going to do it? I'll show you how to do it. It's not hard. Relative risk. That's what they're reporting in all these studies. That's what they're reporting in the ads. That's what they report in that Lipitor ad. It was a relative risk of 36% reduction in heart attacks from taking that drug for 3.3 years.
The benefits of statins are often misrepresented through the use of relative risk reduction, creating an inflated perception of their effectiveness. For example, advertisements for drugs like Lipitor claim a 36% reduction in heart attacks. However, this figure reflects relative risk reduction, which can be misleading. When examining absolute risk, the actual benefit is much smaller. Studies have shown that over 3.3 years of statin use, the absolute risk reduction is only 1%. This means that while the relative percentage appears significant, the practical benefit of an individual is minimal. Absolute risk is a more accurate and meaningful metric for decision-making. It represents the actual difference in outcomes between two groups, providing a clearer picture of a drug's real-world impact. For instance, in a clinical trial where 3% of the placebo group experienced a heart attack, compared to 2% in the treatment group, the absolute risk reduction is 1%. but the relative risk reduction is calculated as 33%. Such discrepancies highlight how relative figures can be used to exaggerate benefits while masking the limited impact on individual patients.
So the number needed to treat is a useful way of looking at results or reviews of trials because it more usefully expresses the therapeutic effect that is needed to get a therapeutic result. The number needed to treat should help us make the choice that is right for an individual. For example, in H. pylori treatment, the FDA approved triple antibiotic regimen. For every 1 to 4 people treated with this regimen, one person is cured.
Another critical statistic is the number needed to treat, or NNT, which shows how many patients must take a drug to achieve a single beneficial outcome. For statins, the NNT often exceeds 100, meaning 99 out of 100 patients experience no benefit, yet are exposed to potential side effects. By focusing on relative risk, statin studies obscure the minimal benefits while downplaying the significant risks and costs associated with their use. Understanding and prioritizing absolute risk empowers patients and healthcare providers to make more informed, evidence-based decisions, ensuring that treatments provide genuine value and avoid unnecessary harm. This perspective is vital for evaluating the true efficacy of statin therapy.
The main purpose of this study was to prove statins have a place for primary prevention. Before the study, there was no place for statins in primary prevention. And this study is what the new guidelines are based on. Now, I'm not going to read these quotes, New York Times, Wall Street Journal. Of course, these are the ones that threw me for my breakfast, but the New York Times said a large new study suggests that millions more people could benefit from taking the statin drugs, even if they have low cholesterol, because the drugs can significantly lower the risk of heart attacks, strokes, and death. But let's look at the study. They reported in the article that LDL declined by 50%, C-reactive protein declined by 37%, and the risk of MI was a 50% reduction.
The Jupiter trial was a major study that evaluated the efficacy of statins in primary prevention, specifically in individuals with normal cholesterol levels but elevated C-reactive protein, or CRP. The trial initially reported impressive results, including a 50% relative reduction in heart attacks and a 40% reduction in deaths. However, a closer examination revealed the absolute risk reduction was only 0.41%, with an NNT of 244 over 1.9 years to prevent one non-fatal heart attack. This means 243 out of 244 participants experienced no benefit. The trial also raised significant concerns about adverse effects, such as a 26% increased risk of diabetes and gastrointestinal-related deaths. These findings were underreported in early publications, drawing criticism from independent reviews. Additionally, the study was prematurely terminated, further complicating its credibility. Commercial interests played a substantial role in shaping the study's outcomes and its subsequent influence. Many investigators had financial ties to pharmaceutical companies, raising questions about bias. Despite its limitations, the Jupiter trial was heavily promoted, leading to increased statin prescriptions and sales. To understand the risks of excessively lowering cholesterol, we must first recognize its essential role in the body.
When you draw a linear regression line, there's no correlation. He just fudged the data. And that's what really took off, and that's when we became fixated on lowering cholesterol levels, lowering fat in our diet. And as a country, we did it. We lowered cholesterol, we lowered fat in our diet, and what's the consequence of that? We're suffering more obesity, diabetes, and heart disease, and we know what to do with. George Mann said, "The lipid hypothesis is the greatest scientific scam of all time. To be a dissenter is to be unfunded." He was a dissenter, he didn't believe it, and they unfunded him. He never could publish another article because he couldn't get research money.
Cholesterol is often vilified in discussions about heart health, but it plays critical roles in the body. And it's a precursor for the production of vitamin D, hormones like testosterone and estrogen, and bile acids necessary for fat digestion. Cholesterol is also vital for maintaining cell membrane integrity and supporting brain function. Lowering cholesterol excessively, particularly with statins, can disrupt these processes, leading to unintended health consequences such as hormonal imbalances and impaired cognitive function. Statins interfere with the enzyme HMG-CoA reductase, not only lowering cholesterol, but also depleting CoQ10, a compound essential for mitochondrial function and energy production. This can lead to muscle pain, weakness, and even ALS-like syndromes. Studies link statin use to neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, as well as muscle damage that may persist long after discontinuing the drug. Elevated cholesterol often signals underlying issues, such as hormonal imbalances or deficiencies in nutrients like vitamin A or thyroid hormone. Treating the root causes, rather than suppressing cholesterol, can lead to better health outcomes. Addressing these factors holistically helps restore balance and avoids the adverse effects associated with statin therapy, promoting overall well-being. Shifting the focus from pharmaceutical solutions to addressing underlying causes, Dr. Brownstein offers a holistic approach to heart health.
Maybe they're vitamin C deficient and that's why their cholesterol levels are going up. Again, that's a more comprehensive way to treat a problem like this and to look at a problem like this. What about vitamin D? There's numerous studies that show direct correlation with low vitamin D levels and elevated risk of heart attack. In this study, lowest vitamin D had a 200% increased risk of heart attack versus those over 30. I've been checking vitamin D levels since 1992. I can assure you the vast majority of people are vitamin D deficient.
Dr. David Brownstein advocates for alternative approaches to heart health, focusing on addressing root causes rather than relying on symptom-suppressing medications like statins. Holistic perspective emphasizes the importance of natural therapies, proper nutrition, and hormonal balance. For instance, imbalances in thyroid and testosterone levels, as well as deficiencies in key nutrients such as vitamin A, can drive elevated cholesterol. By correcting these underlying issues, patients often see improved cholesterol levels and overall health without the need for statins. He highlights how drug companies shape public perceptions through misleading statistics, such as emphasizing relative risk reductions while minimizing the significance of absolute risk. This manipulation creates an inflated sense of the benefits of statins, and it drives their widespread use, often at the expense of patient safety. He calls for a patient-centered approach to healthcare, encouraging practitioners to move beyond a one-size-fits-all mindset. Rather than viewing cholesterol as an enemy, understanding its role in the body and addressing the factors that contribute to its elevation. His perspective challenges the pharmaceutical industry's dominance, advocating for treatments that genuinely promote health and longevity. In conclusion, Dr. David Brownstein's insights challenge the conventional approach to statins and heart disease treatment. He emphasizes the need to understand the full scope of risks and benefits, urging a focus on the root causes of heart disease rather than just lowering cholesterol. By questioning mainstream practices and considering individual health factors, we can make more informed and holistic decisions for long-term well-being. Thank you for watching. We hope this discussion has provided valuable insights into the statin debate and encourages further research and critical thinking. Stay informed and always prioritize your health.